So here are 6 things that you need to understand in order to create value to your prospects and your customers. I feel like value is a term that is overused in emails, in calls, and in marketing material, but it's really the least understood. So in this video, I'm going to walk through the idea of value and the 6 things that you can understand in order to not only better connect with your prospects, but to understand how you can increase the quality of your pipeline by creating more value. So let's get into what those 6 things are so that we can then create better pipeline. All right. Put the numbers down here so I don't get distracted myself. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So the first thing is that it is relative and context specific. Okay. So value is going to mean different things to different people based on where they're at, what's happening in their life, what's happening in their business, what's happening in their role, in their team, in their industry. So it's very important that we understand how we get relevant in relation to the context that they're experiencing. So that's the first thing that we need to understand. The second thing that we need to understand is that it has to be tied to something. Okay. So in the context of B2B sales and solution, we need to make sure that value is tied to something. And this is where I talk about desired outcomes. A prospect is going to struggle to understand if you are giving them any value if they are not clear and explicitly stating what their desired outcomes are, goals, objectives, and big company initiatives. And then you don't even know how to talk to them. So it's really clear that we get some explicit statements coming from prospects saying, this is what we're working towards, and this is what it means to our business, and this is how important it is. So we can then be like, how do I tie what I'm talking about specifically to that desired outcome? All right. The next thing, it needs to be, they need clarity. Let's just put it that way. It's easier to put it, right? So we need to be clear on what it is that we're proposing, right? So they need clarity of our value proposition. Let me just put, what is the stuff? What is the thing? What are the solutions that you're actually talking about? Because if they don't understand if they don't understand that clearly, it's really hard to tie the dots between that. I remember being on a call with a prospect, and it was like one of my first 100 calls, right? And I was speaking, and the prospect was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, let me start again. And then once I said it, I booked a meeting. So it's really important that we are very clear on what our value proposition is, and we get better at articulating that. All right. Next thing, important. In order for a prospect to figure out if they are getting value, if this is a valuable exchange, it needs to be important. And we only uncover if something is important by asking powerful questions, by asking things that help to surface what is happening inside an organization and the impact and influence of those things that are happening or not happening on the desired outcomes. So can you now see how all of these little pieces come together to help us better understand how we create value? No? All right. Well, let me keep going. Now, the next thing is about worth. A prospect needs to understand, is it worth it? And remember, worth comes into it when we think about, particularly in this context, what is that is required from me? What are the things that I actually need to do in order to activate this value? What are the things that are actually happening? Because if they're not clear on what those inputs look like and what those requirements are, then it's really hard to see if it's worth it. And that's why prospects are really clear and be like, this isn't worth it. If it feels heavy, if it feels like a load and there's an imbalance between what's going to go in and what's going to come out, it's not going to feel valuable. So this is a really important thing that we need to walk through as well. And number 6 is the reality. We need to understand the reality of how we are stepping in to our prospect world and figuring out how we create value. All right. This is quite specific. So let me just go into some detail because it breaks down into 3 levels, right? Level 1, level 2, and level 3. So level 1 is what I call assumed value. Assumed value is pretty much our value proposition. It's usually a very seller-driven idea about something that we can do for a prospect. A value proposition is a promise to deliver on an outcome. And we don't really know all of the outcomes. We have some ideas. We're using our experience, our case studies, our own knowledge to say, I'm going to assume that this is going to be important to you. I'm going to assume that this is going to be of value to you. And that helps us to open doors. It helps us book meetings. It helps us spark curiosity and create a stimulus inside inside a prospect's mind. But that's it. We need to get to a next level, which is what I call level 2, which is perceived value. All right. So perceived value is when we finally connect the dots to this assumed value, but we get information about what's relevant, what's content specific, that what they're working towards from desired outcome, and how important this is in relation to other things, so that we can connect the dots. So it's no longer we help retail companies to increase their footfall in the stores. It's specific to, I understand that increasing footfall at this time of day is really important to you because you have managers and higher paid staff on the floor, making this up. So you need to be able to drive higher margins from the sales that are happening during this window. Yes, perfect. That is perceived value. It's connecting the dots to their reality. The next thing is level 3, all right? So level 3 is realized. So level 3 is realized value. And oftentimes this comes after the sale, that we try to get through all of our deals on the perception of value. What we want to do is what I talk about in my newsletter called proof-led sales. What can we do before a prospect signs on a dotted line to help them to realize value of what we can offer before they even start spending money or invest too much in it, right? That's why you see the success of product-led growth companies. That's why you see people get really excited about demos. We need to get their data in the demo, right? We need to do things that prove value before. So in order for us to increase the quality of our pipeline, what we want to do is get all of our pipeline, all of our opportunities to level 3. The more opportunities we have in level 3, where people are being, where we're proving value, we don't make it up. It's not assumed, we're proving it. The better we're going to get at increasing our conversion rate and also be in a position to make more money for ourselves and also for our businesses. All right. So these are the 6 things that you really need to start to work through when it comes to creating value for prospects and customers. And it happens for both the pre-sale and also the post-sale. All right. Okay. You know what to do. Go and do it.